Hello everyone, we are on the front deck today and I will probably be hopping to the back rooftop deck as well, but today I'm gonna do my first real harvest, I would say. I have harvested a bit here and there, like a couple herbs, a couple flowers for a bouquet, but I haven't really gone around the whole deck yet, and really the harvest starts to take off in July, goes into August, and then it starts to peter out around the end of September for the summer plants. So I'm gonna go around. I know there's already cucumber that's ready. I think there's some zucchini as well. And then I'm also gonna grab some herbs. I'll talk about how I dry those and use those. And then we are gonna grab some flowers for some bouquets. However, our garden walk is coming up this weekend. And for that one, I make 60 plus mini bouquets. There's usually like 3 to 4 flowers in each. So I'm only gonna harvest the flowers that won't still look pretty on the plant by this weekend. So there are some that are probably just about to turn brown. Those are the ones I'm going to gather. Oh, and also, there's some new developments that have happened that I want to show you. So first off, there is a yellow zinnia in the center bed where I only recall planting the Queenie Lime series, which is definitely not, because it's all yellow and has a yellow center. I only remember planting that in the Zahara, which are pink. I don't even remember buying yellow zinnias, but here they are. And I know this was 100% my fault and not just a seed issue, because near the end of the planting season, I just kind of started shoving things wherever. But it is interesting to have a plant that I have absolutely no recollection of having. While we're here, I'm going to show you the best places to cut on a cut flower to get them to produce more blooms, but also share a part of the science that I learned and actually remembered from my horticulture classes, because I always knew that if you harvested a flower, it encourages more growth on the sides of the stem, but I didn't know why. But this class taught me why. So we learned a lot about plant hormones in the final class I took towards my horticulture certification. And the two that impact cut flowers are auxin. Well, there's, a lot of hormones in here, but the two I'm going to talk about as far as the cut and come again process. There is auxin, AUXIN, which is primarily produced at the shoot right up here of the apical meristem. So the tip of the growing shoot right there. Then there's cytokinin, which is primarily down in the roots, and that's what encourages the side shoots. Now, auxin is dominant over cytokinin, but when we cut this flower, it stops the travel of the auxin hormone down, so then cytokinin can take over and encourage the side branching. So I just thought that was cool. Like, I knew if you cut a flower, it encourages more side branching, but I didn't know why. So with the majority of cut flowers, or at least the majority that I grow, where you want to cut is where you see another branch growing. Now this one right here only has one branch going off, and I would rather cut here and get these two growing off so that I have 2 side shoots instead of just one. So most of the time when you are looking to cut a flower, you want to cut just above where you see a V. So on this zinnia, for example, I'm going to go in here. Oh, also, if you want to know if a zinnia is ready to harvest, give it a wiggle. See how the stem at the end by the flower head is stiff? That means it is ready. If it's wiggly, that means it's not ready. But I'm going to go in here and just cut right there. So now that's going to encourage those 2 branches to grow, and the plant overall is going to become bushier. Let's see if I can find one that's wiggly, so not ready yet. Maybe this one? I could still do this, but you see how that's a little bit more like flopping than, let's say, this one where the whole stem is moving back and forth. Maybe this one too, because it's just starting to open. You see that wobble? So if you see the wobble, it's not quite ready yet. Technically you can harvest these at any time, but when the flower is the most open, that's when the stem right below the flower is going to be stiff. I'm at the point in the garden season where I don't know if the sun protection of the hat is worth the heat that it's holding on to my head. So I think I'm going to take my hat off for now. The hair is probably going to get pulled up fairly soon, but I'm going to harvest more of the zinnias later. What I want to do now is go in and grab my cucumbers and zucchini, because it'll be the first ones. So here, I see a couple of zucchinis actually. This is the first one I noticed. Now this I'm just going to cut right off at the top of that stem. Look how cute these are. And then there's another one up here that's ready. Let's see if anyone else is looking like they are ready to harvest. I don't see any, but that doesn't mean they're not hiding. So if you see one, as I'm pulling the leaves up, please let me know, because that's how I missed a cantaloupe one year. It was hidden under the leaves, and it rotted because I didn't notice it. And that plant only produced 3 cantaloupes, so that made me sad. But no, all the other ones look fairly small still. Well, hair down didn't last very long. It's now up, and I have my sweatband on, and I have a washcloth, just in case I need it for the extra sweat. But I think I said zucchini. I grabbed these 2 cucumbers from the plant. I think there are 2 plants in there. I'm not exactly sure what variety these are. I know they are on the smaller side, but I killed so many rounds of zucchini seedlings. I started some myself. I killed some that I got from the garden center. These are also, I think, from Home Depot. So I don't remember which variety I ended up not killing. But they smell so good. I am going to put these in my basket. And now let's go ahead and grab the zucchini, which I didn't kill, so I know that that is a zucchini round. Under here are some of the round zucchini. This one I think is rotting, so I'm gonna take that one off anyway. Sometimes they can rot either from, not enough water, not very good pollination, but I'm gonna take that one off. But then I have 2 here that are looking pretty good. So the round zucchini, you wanna harvest them when they're somewhere between like 3 to 6 inches in diameter, which these are. So I'm gonna twist so I don't cut the whole plant off with my pruners. Oh, they look like a little pumpkin. I know, like squash, but still, look how cute these are. I will be eating them though, not using them for decoration. Oh no, this one has a spot on it too. That still feels hard. Now for me, zucchini and cucumbers start to peter out maybe early August. I could plant either another one now, like another cucumber or zucchini now, but I don't know. I've never really felt the urge. Typically, I'll just either move these bags out of the way so I can actually reach my tomatoes, or I will plant a cool season crop in here. But I'm gonna go ahead and take these over to my basket. Actually, what I thought was a rotting spot on this one, I think it was something above it rotting, and the rotting juices just got on it. So I actually have 2 that look pretty good. Now these, I think when they sell them online, they really sell them as like bowls. You can cut them in half and then put something in them. I just slice them like a regular zucchini. I just grow them because they're cute and the plants are a little bit smaller. So I think these are just perfect, but I just eat them regularly. All right, next, I know there aren't any tomatoes yet. They're close on the Tiny Tims, but I'm gonna go see if there's any green beans. I see some small ones. Those are not ready yet. Oh, I see some under here that I definitely think are ready. This is one that I was still, well, maybe I was at the tail end of still planting, and I forgot that I needed to harvest some beans. So it was really, really full one day. I was like, oh, that's right. I also need to not just plant, but also start harvesting. So I have 2 plants that produce purple beans, and I have 2 that produce green. Again, with most of the plants I grow, it's not like I'm getting a huge harvest to can and save or preserve, but I'm getting enough to have like maybe that day and the next. I mean, the tomatoes at some point do start to go a little bit crazy, but other than that, because I am limited by space and number of plants, I'm not necessarily harvesting enough that, will get me through the winter. All right, those purple ones need to fatten up a bit. Oh, nope, here's some good ones. I was a bit hesitant if I overplanted this 7-gallon grow bag with 4 bean plants, but it's working out really well. And then this is a 19-inch support cage. I do have some raspberries, but I really like to leave these on. Well, that would just fall off in my hand. I like to leave these on until the morning. I come out, I eat some raspberries with my pigeon friends, and it's a really nice way to start the day. So, although I'm tempted now to eat a couple of these, so you can come off with me as well. The rest I will save for tomorrow morning. Next, I'm going to do some herb harvesting. So this is my pineapple sage. It's the only non-mint herb that I'm growing up here, which I did not mean to do. Again, all the cooking herbs are down on the garage deck, but one of my favorite smelling and favorite tasting herbs to use for tea especially. So I'm going to harvest. I'll show you where I cut them. I'm going to rinse them off with a hose, make sure there's no bugs that I'm bringing in with them, and then I will show you what I do to hang them to dry. So first of all, when I'm harvesting, well, the general rule of thumb is don't take more than 1/3 of the plant off, which I try to follow, but I will say with mint especially, I feel like I can cut everything off and it still grows back just fine. But in general, you want to keep to 1/3 of whatever plant it is that you're harvesting. Let's take a look at this branch here. This is probably the longest branch on the pineapple sage, but I'm going to harvest in basically the same way that I harvested the zinnias, again, to encourage more branching. I'm going to go above a V, right there. And again, you can go down really as far as you want, but I'm trying not to take the whole branch. I'm just gonna snip it off. And then again, I do look for any bugs. This one is showing signs of something eating it, but the rest of them look pretty good. I have accidentally brought in caterpillars and ladybugs before and then had to take them back outside. So same thing here. I'm going above that V. I think you can kind of tell if you look here, there are these two tiny branches coming out from between there. So if I cut this, that's going to encourage all of those little side shoots to grow. So I'm just going to keep harvesting. For my herbs, I do tend to harvest like larger bunches at a time. I could just come out and grab some leaves for a tea in the morning, but I like to dry them. It takes a lower volume of dried herbs to make a tea that's as potent as using fresh herbs. I'm just coming in here, and wherever I feel like snipping above a V, I'm going to snip. Now this plant is pretty large, however, I do love it so much. I could probably have used two. I think I told myself I was gonna get a second one and then just did not do that. Next, I'm gonna harvest a bit from this apple mint because one, I want some of it, and two, even though this is a very vertical growing plant, I do want to encourage it to be a little bit bushier. It won't be as bushy as some of the other ones that are naturally more mounding, but I can do the same thing, again, cutting above a V to encourage the branching. So on this one, just to get it to branch a bit more, I might even go down a little bit further. Also, it is not recommended to let, well, any of your herbs, but this mint is about to flower. And the reason is because if the herbs start producing their flowers, they're gonna focus more on seed production and it can change the taste of the leaves. I don't necessarily follow that rule because I like the flowers on them. They look pretty. I think the chocolate mint has purple flowers. The pollinators love them, so I feel bad taking it away from them. And I've never really had a noticeable difference in taste. Now, maybe there are some herbs that are more noticeable than others, but all of my mints taste like how they did before they flowered and after they flowered. Also, I like to dry the flowers as well, and then I will put the flowers somewhere separate than where I put the leaves that I've dried, and then I just sprinkle some dried flowers on top of my tea or coffee, and it's really good and really pretty. So I'm gonna do, like I said, the same thing on here. These shoots look pretty little. Actually, that's probably one that I harvested. Let me see if you can, so you see this right here, I cut off that main stem, and now it's producing these stems on the side. So I'm gonna try to do the same thing here. Like I said, I'm gonna go down a bit further than I normally would. So I'm just going to give these a trim and hopefully make them a bit bushier in the process. This is, which mint are you? Oh good, the name's been wiped off. I'm pretty sure this is the basil mint because it smells citrusy but not orangey, and the orange mint smells very much like orange. But this one is probably the second largest after the apple mint, so I'm gonna harvest, once I find where I put my pruners, off of this one, and this might be the last herb that I use, and I'm gonna go grab some more of the flowers. So again, coming down to a V. I'm trying to think, so dahlias, it's the same way, and I believe if you cut further down, so like let's say there's a set of V here and then and another V down below, if you cut down here instead of up here, it'll make the shoots have longer branches, which a lot of flower farmers do. I usually have small bouquets and shorter stems that I want to have, so I don't usually cut down as far as like a flower farmer would, for example. Let's do you. I'm trying to think of what cut and come again flowers do not do that for. Status, you do harvest all the way down to the bottom of the leaves, but I don't know if there's any else that I have. Gomphrena, same way. I'm trying to look around what I have here. Yeah, I think everything else that I have other than the status, you harvest at the V. And again, same thing with the majority of the herbs. The last herb I'm doing today, so now we'll go get some more zinnias and any other cut flowers that I think are near the end of their bloom life. Oh, I should probably cut this one off. One of the reasons you want to plant mint on its own is that it does produce these runners that will take over the pot or your yard. And also if this gets into, like say the pot next to it or my raised bed with zinnias, it'll start to grow into that bed. So I'm going to snip you And that is something I need to be on the lookout for more often than I actually do look out for it. Oh, have you seen Hank flowering yet? So Hank just flowered for the first time a couple days ago. He is huge, definitely larger than Bob, who was my volunteer sunflower last year. And then I have Fred, but he's not that big and definitely a different variety. I can't tell you how much I love a sweatband. I don't know when the last time was that I wore a sweatband, but the difference between this and sweat dripping in my eyes is much better. So this one, like, I'll use it for a bouquet, but it is kind of close to just turning like a brown flower. So it's not one that I would necessarily give to someone else. Let's see, you also look like you're at the end. You just look pretty. That's how I want you. Oh, you're definitely near the end. Again, just going down and finding that V. Yeah, you definitely are too. Oh, where do you even come from? You're deep down in there. Just to show you what I mean by a flower that's kind of at the end of its bloom life. I don't know if you can tell, but the back flowers here are looking a little bit less vibrant, like these, and they're starting to curl a little bit more away from the flower. So again, it's still pretty. I'm still gonna use it in a bouquet for myself, but I wanna get these off just to, again, encourage the zinnias to produce more flowers and not seeds. I'm also gonna grab some Angelonia, and this one, I mean, it's similar, but also a little bit different than the other cut flowers, which I didn't know this was cut and come again until this year. In fact, just a few weeks ago. But for these, I don't want to cut them too short because I want them to be in bouquets. So I'll just still go down and cut above a set of leaves. But these, I typically go much further down on one of the branches than I would on the zinnias. Well, I'm inside now because my phone was giving me the "it's too hot outside to function" message, which I understand. But luckily, I got everything that I intended to get, at least from the front deck garden anyway. And don't count these status because they are a mix of back and front, but I wanted to show you them. But I think that's pretty good for like a deck garden in the city to produce that much. And again, I could have harvested a lot more flowers, but I was really just doing the ones that were near the end of their life. So I think this is pretty good. I did want to show you the status. So this is the apricot status. I harvest these mostly to dry. I don't usually use them in bouquets. I'll just tie them and hang them upside down. Same thing with this. This is the Seeker Blue. This is the Seeker Rose status. I think those are the only 3 varieties I have growing unless a magical one pops up, like the yellow zinnias. But those I hang to dry, and then I do something very similar with my herbs. Now, I'm not gonna hang these right now because I do need to rinse my herbs off, and then you don't wanna bundle them together to hang to dry when they're wet because that can cause some fungal issues in here. So I need to wait until I rinse these and then they're completely dry before I go ahead and hang them. But I do have one, I was just looking over there, it's like I have one thing of herbs hung, so I'll show you that in a second. But what I'll do with all of my herbs is just go through, make sure there's no bugs. If there's any leaves that look brown, yellow, very tattered, I will remove those. All right, looks good. So that's the process I will go through for all of my herbs. I am going to make a step-by-step herb harvesting video once I have more of my herbs at a size where I can harvest from almost all of them. I do still mostly hang dry, but I did get a dehydrator. So I haven't used it yet. So I might try that out and see how it goes. I hang them because I'm not usually in a rush. And for me, it's easier just to hang them and then forget about them for a couple weeks. It usually takes 2 to 3 weeks for my herbs to dry. The flowers I leave hanging up until I take them off to use on a Christmas tree because they just look really pretty hanging there. So I'll show you what I do with both the herbs and status and really any bundle I have of flowers or something that I'm gonna hang to dry. So let's move the zucchini, the cucumbers. I'm just gonna go ahead, I have these for outside. I like using this one inside because I can use just one hand, pull the twine, do a snip, and then I will come around here and I will tie it once on that side, and then I tie it once on the other side. I just find that keeps it nice and tight. And I do want to unwrap these at some point, so I never do a full knot. But then these will go hang on the curtain rod. So let me take you over there. These are my curtain rods. These are 3 gold curtain rods drilled into the wall, not meant to hold any type of curtain, but I really, really like it. I hang my flowers on this. So again, half of the year they're probably covered with flowers. The other half, there isn't really much on there. And I was wondering if I would like looking at just 3 gold bars, but they're fine. It doesn't really like stand out and I don't mind how they look. So up here, I already do have a bunch of apple mint, and I do label my herbs because when these dry, it's harder for me to tell them apart visually. And sometimes some of them do smell similar after they're dried, so I always label my bundles of herbs. Flowers though, I can tell what they are. Now this bunch is a little bit longer. It's one of the longer flowers that I harvest and dry, so these are gonna go on the bottom row. But again, I just tie it around once, and that's it. And my cats don't bother this. I don't know why. My cats don't really care about the plants at all. One year, one of them got into my gomphrena seedlings, but that was 4 years ago, and they haven't cared since. So I don't know. They break a lot of other stuff, but not anything plant related. So that is my harvest for today. Again, I will usually harvest, something daily, a handful of raspberries. If I see a handful of green beans or 1 cucumber ready, I'll go ahead and pull it off. But about once a week, I try to get out there and do a harvest like this so that I make sure I'm not missing anything. RIP to that cantaloupe from 3 years ago that I still think about. And I'm just keeping up constantly and not letting any of my herbs go a bit too wild. So yeah, that is my harvest for today. I should probably stop doing this during the hottest point of the day and do it in the morning or the evening, but this is when I happen to have my free time. So let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.